There is so much noise happening right now about this Spirit Airlines collapse and the fact that they have just declared that they are going out of business. You have Republicans who are currently blaming the Biden administration for blocking the merger between JetBlue and Spirit Airlines. You have progressives who are blaming the war in Iran for creating rising gas prices. It is just a lot of noise and a lot of collision that is meant to just make this very, very political. But the reality is that this is somewhat political, but it's mostly just economics. And I'm doing this unscripted, which I don't normally do. So I'm just saying my train of thought as I've been observing this all day so far. So to catch you up, Spirit Airlines declared today that they're going to shut down operations, and this impacts about 17,000 employees that are mostly headquartered in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Now, what's interesting about Fort Lauderdale is that is Broward County. Broward County is a blue stronghold in the state of Florida, so this does likely disproportionately impact people who probably vote on a Democratic line. Now, here are the important aspects about this blocked merger between Spirit and JetBlue. JetBlue attempted to merge with Spirit Airlines, and what happened was a district judge in Massachusetts, who was appointed by Ronald Reagan, was presented with facts and with evidence because the Democrats did want to block this merger. And the judge decided, based off of this evidence, that the merger would be in violation of antitrust laws, and it would likely lead to Spirit Airlines having to no longer have their positioning as the lowest cost provider airline. It is tale as old as time as to why mergers get blocked, why monopolies are prevented, etc. Now, here's the part that a lot of people are not really reporting on. JetBlue and Spirit did end up appealing, but the terms of the agreement between JetBlue and Spirit mandated that they would appeal. In the middle of the appeals process, JetBlue backed out of the deal. So they didn't even see the appeals process through. They just decided this isn't worth it. The second thing that I think is very, very important to talk about is JetBlue's current financial position. So prior to the COVID pandemic, JetBlue was reporting, I think it was $500 million in net profits, and this is in 2019. COVID hits. Almost every airline gets impacted because not just the US went into lockdown, but the entire globe went into lockdown. But the US going into lockdown hurts JetBlue even more so because they are mostly a domestic provider. In that time period of the lockdown, JetBlue ends up reporting over a $1 billion net loss. Here's the thing. JetBlue has reported year-over-year net revenue loss in the hundreds of millions since then. Economists point to this, not just a result of economic squeezing, not just a result of current rising fuel cost prices, not just a result of the rising fuel cost prices that occurred during the Biden administration. They pointed to JetBlue making a couple key errors in business decisions. The first one was they started offering transatlantic flights, meaning flights from the United States to Europe. Barely anybody took advantage of these because if you're flying a transatlantic flight, chances are you already have a preferred airline that you're going to fly. And also, these flights were not cheap. They were not cheap in comparison to the existing offering that came with Delta, United, or Continental. The second issue that JetBlue did was a majority of all of the new planes that they invested in creating, they decided to go after the big three, meaning Delta, United, American. What happened when they did this was they thought that they were able to convince their current budget-focused customers into upselling them to go on these flights because you already love JetBlue, so you're going to love our JetBlue Premium offering and even more because these flights actually, I should say, these aircrafts that they built had Mint business class, they had more premium economy seating, and then they had the economy seating. They are directly going after Delta, United, and American. That was a huge issue and a huge problem for them because they did not have a large and most loyal enough customer base to be able to convince their customers to be able to switch to JetBlue, meaning that they were going to be able to convince their current customers to pay more for a premium product, and they just weren't able to compete with the other airlines that already offer this. And as a result of that, they started experiencing massive budget and massive revenue loss. The CEO of JetBlue literally just in the past few weeks came out and said that they're more than likely going to have to declare bankruptcy. Not just because of the fuel costs, but because they have been experiencing massive revenue loss for the past 4 years. The reason I'm saying all this is a merger between JetBlue and Spirit Airlines likely would not have actually solved anything because it looks like JetBlue themselves is going down right now. The important thing to also note is this is not strictly to do because of jet fuel prices right now. This is years and years of poor economic decisions by JetBlue. Okay? So as you are dealing with all of this noise that is going to be coming from politicians from the left and the right, please just know that, yes, the fuel costs and the jet fuel costs are putting a squeeze on bottom line revenues for the airline industry, which is why they are all raising prices right now. Yes, travel is down to the United States. Yes, economic optimism is at its lowest point in 70 years right now, which means people are no longer traveling, they are saving their money, and they are bunkering down. However, JetBlue has been in duress for a long time. A merger would very, very likely, I can't say that with 100% confidence, but a merger is very unlikely to have saved two airlines that were reporting hundreds and hundreds of millions in loss.